2024. Jennifer, I'll let you introduce the folks at Champlain Hudson, if you wouldn't mind.
Great, not at all. Thank you all for having us. I'll start. I've met some of you over the years. I'm Jen Laird-White. I'm the Senior VP in charge of External Affairs for the project. Chuck, shall I quickly hand to you?
Sure. Chuck Fontenot. I'm the Vice President of Construction for the metro area, which includes the route that we'll be discussing tonight through Astoria.
And Laura?
Hi, I'm Laura Gibson. I'm the Director of Workforce Development for the whole CHP project. Thanks for having us.
So Chuck is going to handle most of the key components to the discussion, given that he is the construction man. I will, but I'm going to start. We have a short PowerPoint. I think the first slide will be familiar to some of you from before, but it's been updated to reflect new material. I should tell you that last time I appeared before the community board, we were looking for a letter. We don't need a letter. We are already in some construction on Vernon Boulevard. We're moving ahead. We're very excited. The project remains on schedule to start supplying energy in 2026. But we want to be good community members. We wanted to give you an update. We wanted to answer questions and make sure that you are aware of what's going on, and that any questions are answered, and any follow-ups, you know who the players are in Astoria. So Laura, are you going to share the presentation? And I'll do the first quick overview slide that
well, I'm trying to, and it's disabled, so I may have to send it to the host.
Moment, we'll restart it.
Should I try again?
Yes, please do.
There it goes. So there's that, and then I will put it to presentation mode. Does that look good? Jen?
Yep.
Thank you.
So I think many of you are familiar with the project, the Champlain Hudson Power Express project. We are a 1,250 megawatt, fully buried HVDC transmission project. We will provide 20% of New York City's power when completed. We started construction at the end of 2022. We will be in service May of 2026. We are a merchant transmission project. We answered a competitive RFP that NYSERDA put out. The power flowing on the line will be all renewable power, hydropower from Quebec. We are a tax-paying project. We benefit 73 municipalities and 59 school districts, including New York City. We have all of our permits. We are widely supported. We are estimated to decrease carbon emissions by 37 million metric tons over the first 15 years of the project, and reduce harmful local air pollutants by 20%, something that is particularly important in Astoria. We're estimated to have 1,400 direct construction jobs. We are a union labor project. That said, we are now starting to think we are going to have significantly more jobs than that. The project is fully buried, which is more resilient. Construction is obviously more impactful, but once it's buried, there will be very few needs to revisit the construction. We'll have manholes along the length of the entire project. And in Queens specifically, we're building a converter station on the Con Edison site. It's the first grid scale conversion of a fossil generating site to a clean energy site right here in Astoria. The project is 60% in waterways. We start at the Canadian border. We travel down the Hudson. We come ashore around GE. There was significant pollution in the wake of the closing of the GE plant there. So We travel terrestrially, on land, buried underground. We go back into the Hudson, come ashore again in Rockland County for a short stint. That is to be protective of fish habitat in the area. The line has no impact on fish habitat, but the installation could stir sediment for a brief period. We have started installation in the Hudson. One of the more complex parts was we traveled by a number of drinking water systems. 110,000 people drink out of the Hudson River. There was a lot of concern about how impactful our construction would be, and I'm pleased to say we worked with the local communities and we had zero impact. It was a very successful installation. So that's sort of the basics of the project. And unless there are any questions there, I can quickly hand off to Chuck, who can get more specific about the construction in Astoria itself.
Sure. Thank you, Jen. Laura, if you can go to the next slide, please. And good evening, everybody. Again, Chuck Fontenot. I'm the Vice President of Construction for the metro area. And got a couple slides to share with you tonight. This first one I thought would be good to show you. This is what we call the ARC route, the Astoria Rainy Cable. It goes from the Astoria complex up in the top right of the screen over to the Rainy Sub down in the bottom left. That's over on Vernon Boulevard. We color coded this. I'll work from the bottom up. The green areas is areas that we are physically working right now. We have NTP from the state, so we're installing manhole 1, manhole 2, working our way back up. We're working in Rainy Sub right now. We've installed 2 manholes, one on 35th Street, one on Vernon Boulevard. We're doing our trenching down there, and we'll continue to work, throughout the winter months and work with the New York City DOT, getting street openings and things like that. The yellow area that you see, that's mostly up in Astoria Park. And I do have a slide on Astoria Park, a couple slides down. But that was yellow. It's going to turn to green, but the slides were already built. Half of the park, we have a limited notice to proceed through the state, and we'll be starting, you'll start to see us in the park over the next few months. Starting at the manhole 5, which is right with the yellow and red meat on the bottom, between I believe it's segment 4 and 5. And we'll be working that area. The red areas is where I'll go to the orange. The orange is just a little spot up in the top, right where 90 degrees on Shore Boulevard and 20th. And we're working with DEP on an interaction we have there with with a sewer drain that we're moving. We'll be moving that pipe. We're just still working through the design, but we have approvals with DEP, and we've agreed on certain parameters to move that sewer so that it doesn't conflict with our duct bank, our buried duct bank in the future if they ever have to work on that sewer. So we're actually we're doing a lot with DEP. So this was a big area, and we're going to resolve that. The red areas, we're still talking with Con Ed. We actually had a meeting this afternoon and resolved a lot of these areas where we have to move some Con Ed infrastructure and make sure that our lines don't compete against each other as far as loading and stuff like that. So we've been doing a lot of work with them, and we're at the final stages. And I would say by Christmas time, early January, everything on here will be green, and we'll be working all over to complete this route. But this is 4 miles roughly of the 339 miles, and it's some of the hardest 4 miles on the whole route, with everything that is buried in the ground and all the obstacles we have to go around. So there's a lot of coordination with the other people that are already in the street. So, but it's going well, and we're moving along. So that's our route. I'll talk a little bit more about that. You can go to the next slide, Laura, please. Here's our schedule, a little bit of an eye chart, but that's why I have my glasses, and so I can see. But what we've basically done is we have EJ Electric, who is our contractor. and they have several crews that they're working. And you'll see like crew 1 started in August, and they'll be working all the way to next August. Within crew 1 working down on Vernon Boulevard in that area, they may have multiple crews. Typically, they're close together, so a foreman can keep an eye on two or three crews at the same time. Crew 2, the same. They'll be doing the trenching up on 14th. There's a lot of work up on 14th Ave, and they'll have multiple crews working up in there under crew 2. And you can see the timeline there as well. Crew 3 is they're going to be doing most of the work in the park. So they're starting this week, just a couple weeks earlier than expected in the park. They'll be working through April to finish up all the I'll call the heavy construction throughout the park, so that we don't interfere with park users come spring. And then they'll continue down Shore Boulevard as they exit the park. So you'll see that goes out to about the July, August timeframe. And because they'll be working outside of the park as well. But we hope to have everything done in the park by April. We'll probably have to finish up some restoration. We're working with the parks on a new striping plan for the bike route and the park users, as well as we'll be repaving the entire Shore Boulevard within the park the boundaries. So I think when we leave there, it's going to be nice looking, and people will get to use the park. So working with them again to get their striping plan, how they want to design the bike route and things like that. So we have weekly meetings with the park over construction and also progress to keep them informed. The next one you'll see down is we call it a heavy. It's an EJ relocate crew. They're working. We have about 65 locations along the route where we either have to move a sewer pipe or a water lateral, anything that has to do with DEP. That's what that heavy EJ relocate crew is doing. They'll also be working alongside the trenching crews at the same time. As the trenching crews come along something, they'll be moving the infrastructure or replacing the infrastructure for DEP. And then we have our manhole crew, which works the entire length of the project. Just as it says, they're installing the manholes as needed. So we've already installed 2. Now we're going up and we're installing manhole 5 in the park. So it doesn't go in exact order, but that crew can also, while they're waiting for a manhole to be manufactured or the timeline, they can assist with the trenching crews. And our vac crews, they use a vac truck in the substations. So right now they're working in Rainy Sub. When they're done there, they'll move over to the Astoria complex and working everything inside the Astoria complex on the Con Ed property and the annex that is shared by Con Ed and NIPA. And, as I talked a little earlier, working with Con Ed, we've done a lot of work with Con Ed on the electric and the gas side, moving some of their infrastructure. We also have to make sure, again, that our infrastructures don't compete with each other for heating and cooling. And the gas, there's also a corrosion mitigation, cathodic protection that we're installing with with Con Ed along our route to make sure that our new duct bank doesn't interfere with their gas line. It also has to do with the worker safety around the gas, making sure that if there was a fault on the line or something like that, they're not going to get injured. It protects the workers in the street. It protects the gas pipe that's in the ground. And then, once the trenching and the manholes are complete, we'll start the cable pulling and splicing. That's where we have to go back to each manhole, open up the manhole, run cables from manhole to manhole. There's no more trenching being done. Road restoration will be being done at that time. So it's just a trailer parked over the manhole with a cable on it, and on the other end there's a pulling rope, and we pull about most of the runs on the arc route that we call the arc route is about 2,000 to 2,500 feet between manhole to manhole. So we'll have guys there, and then there'll be a van there while they're splicing the cable. There's 6 cables in the manhole, so there's 6 splices that have to happen in that manhole. And they can take a couple of weeks to do all that splicing. It's pretty tedious work. And then we have our testing and commissioning. So once everything is pulled and spliced, that's done from substation to substation. The crews will be set up and we'll do our testing and commissioning. And then hopefully we turn this line on in May of 26 and we provide the 20% of the power that we're saying we're going to give to New York City. So I can answer any questions so far. I got a next slide is about the parks, but if there's any questions before to go to that, hopefully I answer
Dominic?
a lot of questions.
Yeah, I don't know if we should leave it to the end, but I have a couple of questions. I don't know if Dominic or Mario have any questions since they're on the committee. Dom, no?
I don't have any questions, but I'd be happy to offer some if there are no others, but it could be later. So,
All right, well, I
you
have a
know,
question,
more like comments.
yeah. Oh, okay. Do you want to offer them up now or do you want to wait until later?
No, you go first because I had a good one and now it slipped my mind.
I just want to say, I do have a slide that goes over to parks. So if they're about parks or anything, if we can wait till that next slide, then that'll be
Okay.
good. But go ahead, let's
Great.
fire
I'll
away on the
pull that
schedule while
later.
it's
Okay,
fresh on your mind.
all right. The 20% power that you mentioned, that figure, is that based on current population or does that take into account future development or development that's in the planning stages?
Oh, Chuck, do you want to answer? Go
No,
ahead.
well, I was gonna say that's, the calculation of power use. So we're providing 1,250 megawatts of power, which, yeah, I don't have the exact answer, but the 1,250 megawatts will provide about 20% of the megawatts used in New York City. Jen, if you want to
Currently used. Yeah.
currently use, yes.
Okay, so it doesn't take into account development. Okay. I'm going to ask about striping later. When DEP is moving the pipes, how is that going to affect the residents in the area, the sewer pipes or the water supply? Are they going to have no water for a period of time or how is that going? How are you?
Typically, if we have like an electrical, if we're moving an electrical wire, we'd knock on the door, tell the homeowner you're gonna be without power for a couple hours. A business, we plan ahead. If we can knock on those doors ahead of time or talk to a business ahead of time. Same with water. People are not gonna be left overnight without water or sewer. We pump around. We find other ways to provide that service. Why those utilities are being moved. Same with gas, right? We don't shut the gas off. We get our system built, regas it, and then swap them over to the new system.
Okay,
And
since
Antonella, I will tell you, number one, it's really helpful that EJ is a Long Island City, a Queens contractor. They've done a lot of work. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they do know neighborhoods. They knew, I'm very impressed by how tied into the community they are. We are in heavy construction all the way, the whole 339 miles now, and we do a lot of flyering in advance of any road closures, any lane closures. There will not be road closures in Astoria, but some places we do have periods of road closures. We have detours, and we do a tremendous amount of flyering, which will happen in Astoria. We've already done one round of flyering related to bike paths in the park. You may have seen it.
yeah, that's my concern. I just if there's a stretch where you have to relocate piping or sewer that might affect people's normal use of infrastructure. If we can definitely put them on notice, flyers on every block, or I don't know. I don't know how else we're going to get notification to them, but we definitely need to give them advance notice just in case.
But
you should also know we've started a newsletter for Astoria. And we have an email sign up. We've sent out one. We're getting ready to send out a second. The other thing that we've done in other municipalities where we're working is we do traffic updates. I think in Queens, in Astoria, it would be less about traffic specifically and more about what's happening on your block that the community board could share. The borough president's office could share. We've worked with the Queens Chamber. They've been very helpful. Queens Together has been very helpful. But any suggestions you have for more places that we can get the word out?
Well, I'm gonna suggest, Florence, can you get a list of the civic groups?
No, it wouldn't work like that, Antonella. What she would do is she'd give us the information. We'd put it on our constant contact page, and we'd blast it. We put it on Facebook and Twitter. It would be a much bigger swath of people than doing it the other way. You're talking.
I don't know about that because
Yeah.
we'll talk about that later. We'll figure it out. Dominic, you have a question. Sorry.
But it's their responsibility to do their outreach. It's not our
Right.
responsibility as a
That's-
community
Exactly.
for us
Right, so
to.
I was gonna say, it's really an interesting project because, so I want to step back a step and ask, what, is there a city agency that's in charge of this project? And if so, what city agency is that? Excuse my ignorance.
So the city has committed to buying some of the power to power city buildings with clean energy. There is no, it's a state project.
Okay, so it's a state project with what state agency? Thank you, Jennifer.
NYSERDA.
Oh, so NYSERDA is a state energy. I always think of NYSERDA as more of a, like a, help you insulate your house type of group. So that's my ignorance.
They're very big in the renewable energy sphere.
So they're a formal city. They're a formal city agency.
Formal state agency.
All
Yeah.
right, and your contract is with them.
Well, yeah, we're exactly.
So then, yeah, like Florence
We have a
said,
25-year contract with them to provide power to New York City.
right, but does your contract specifically say how you are supposed to alert and communicate with the residents of the neighbor,
Yeah, we have a public involvement plan, and it's
and
detailed.
it's part of your contract?
It's part of what's called our environmental management and construction plan. Every time we gear up for construction, we send to the department, because we're also regulated by the Department of Public Service. So the Public Service Commission has to approve our EM&CP. They're very specific. Obviously 339 miles is divided into many different EM&CPs. Each EM&CP is roughly 1,000 pages long, but I'm happy to send you a link to the Queens version. And I will tell you, our community outreach has been very successful so far. We're always happy for suggestions, but I do think we have a very good handle on what's going to make communication in Astoria work. The biggest thing, obviously, being literally going door to door. We have done that 3 times in the community now, flyering, just letting them know that the project is going to happen, letting them see. We've done door hangers with the route on it. We've met with many of the property owners along our construction route several times over the last few years, getting them.
Did you meet with NYCHA, the Astoria Houses, or Ravenswood?
Yep.
And
Yep.
you did, you have. Okay, good.
Yep.
And all right, because I know and then I'll say it again, the civic groups, I know Florence has some emails. I don't know if you have like Astoria Civic Group, or I don't know if there's one by Ditmars, but any of those groups, it would be great to get word out to them as well.
Yeah, and we work closely with the Variety Boys and Girls Club. We've met with, obviously, Socrates many times, Noguchi. We've spent time with Costco, making sure many neighbors are worried about access to Costco during construction. We've met on 14th with neighbors on 14th. We've done a couple of different open house kind of things in various neighborhoods as well.
Okay.
So yeah,
Great.
we're really trying to make sure that people, and we have cards that we've left in. Everybody along the route has a card that tells them how to contact our information hotline. We have a 24-hour turnaround for construction concerns, questions, complaints.
Okay.
Yeah, we're really trying to just make, because as you all know, the more the word is out, the easier it is for everybody.
Yeah, I get it. And one more question on that, and then I'll let you move on. unless someone else has anything else. The flyers that you're putting on in the various areas, are you indicating the length of construction time that it will take for that area to be completed?
So the most recent flyer was mostly geared toward people on cyclists, letting them know that the park, there's going to be a detour in the park. Yes, I think when we do flyers, we will let them know.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
I have
Don, did
one-
you have any other questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have one more technical question for Chuck or comment. And so we've been noticing recently, and I haven't come to you, Florence, with it yet, but I find that when fiber is pulled in our streets, there are these crazy depressions left, which implies not code compliant backfilling in the streets. And it happens often on the gas lines that you mentioned when you mentioned sewer and gas line treatment. But what procedures do you have in place to make sure that we don't get the settlement that we've been getting with some low voltage cables if you are having any excavations or pull stations intermediate between your permanent manholes? Because it's crazy here on 30th Street. Every block you've got these mysterious voids, and it's all due to certain excavations not being backfilled properly.
Yep. So I can't speak to, other companies that are working, but I will say we have a slew of inspectors out there. We have DPS showing up on site. We have our own inspectors. We have our Con Ed inspectors. We're working with DEP and DOT, and we are building back to the spec, to the T, and we are taking pictures and notes and a real QA/QC program, because we're going to turn this over to NIPA when it's complete, and all of that'll be in there. So we're tamping the right amount of tamp. We're using the right soils in our trenches, and we're paving, with the spec that is according to the DOT. Again, I can't speak to how anybody else is doing it, but
Oh,
I can say,
are you only one company, Chuck? So what you keep saying you can't? I missed that.
I don't know what you mean by one company.
Well, you say you can't attest to how other people are doing it. I don't know what that means. Is that
Yeah,
in
I don't know
our
who's
area or some
installing,
other
I don't know
area?
who's installing the fiber on 30th
Oh,
or.
no. I'm only talking about your project.
Oh,
course.
no, we're just one, we are the owner. We are, we hired EJ Electric to install this duct tank along the route that we have approved. And we are, QA QCing the entire project, making sure that it is built to the specs that we have from the city.
So we don't want to, and thank you for your time, Jennifer and Chuck and Laura. We don't want to come after the fact and see all these, settlings and depressions in the road every so often. So is there any way that you guys could work with the community board to get more specific and assure that everything's been backfilled right? Because if it was a DOB filing, there would be special inspectors in place, but because you're only in the street, it's DOT, and I don't know how they certify or confirm that the backfilling is done right, but it just seems like it's a big problem. So
We could take that, let me take that and see if I can come up with a better answer for you. But, my best answer is that we are in the street with the contractor. I'm out there almost daily. I have other inspectors that are out there, and our IFC drawings show exactly how we have to put the road back. All the specs are there, whether there's steel plates, the amount of gravel, the amount of concrete, the amount of asphalt, and we're following these IFCs to a T.
IFCs, what's that?
Issued for construction drawings. And
Okay.
they have all the specs in them that
Right.
we're following.
Okay, great. Because I, just noticed it recently. Thanks for your time.
I am with you. I agree with you. I hate seeing all those
I know.
dips, and it's poor construction, and we're not
And
doing
it's kind of
that.
cheating,
We're not doing that.
To me, it even comes down to DOT not having the
Sure.
the bandwidth to care about it and whatever. It's a big problem. Thanks.
Tom, if you send photos of those to the office, we can send them out to DOT, but it has to be right after the contract is done. So if a contractor finishes a project and within a couple of months you see these dips and you send the photos, there's a leeway where they're responsible to come back and do a repair. So if you're seeing them and you're not sending them to the office, you're doing a disjustice to DOT, because what happens is they have a certain amount of time to get the repair corrected. So if you send photos with the exact locations, we can send them out to DOT and they can try to address them.
Yeah,
But that's the only way. We have no authority over any of this.
Florence,
right.
that's
And
a,
the
that,
photos,
Florence, sorry, Jennifer, one sec. That's a great point, but that's like attacking it, that's reacting after it's done. So my conversation here is to try to prevent it from happening. I will do that with the
it's
ones.
been brought up before, so if it's being brought up now, we
Well,
start.
that was gonna be my follow-up question to you, Florence. Have you, from time to time, do you get other complaints about this, or is people
No.
just kind of think it's a mystery?
No, no
Okay.
complaints whatsoever. That's why I'm saying send the photos, send the exact locations.
Right, we'll do it for those. Got it. But Chuck, you're
Standard.
saying that you'll
People want
proactively
that.
make sure that the specs are complied with.
Yes, we are following our drawings to a T. And, not done right, we have them go back and fix them, but we won't have an issue like
And
that.
I imagine you have a bunch of like resident engineers and junior engineers below you, right? That you're in charge of.
So we have an engineering firm that we work with.
All right, so if you could just make sure that they are aware of the importance of correct compaction, that would be great.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you.
Great point, Dom. Thank you. All right, Chuck, please continue.
All right, Laura, next slide, please. This might create a couple more questions. So here's the park, the Astoria Park. So just, I can read through the bullets, but this is where we're installing manhole 5 and 6. So within the park boundaries, there's 2 manholes. Kind of hard to see on the map, but on the right-hand side, just as it makes that 90 onto Shore Boulevard, you see a little round dot. There's a 5 in there. And then just before the Hellgate Bridge, there's another round dot, and that's manhole 6. So our line goes right up the middle of Astoria Park. We have an MPT plan that we designed specifically for pedestrians. We have a series of ADA compliant ramps that'll be moved with the construction to make sure that people can cross the street safely, get from one sidewalk to the other. The sidewalk along the river will be open at all times. As Jen stated, we're communicating with the bike clubs. We're establishing alternate routes, which are through the park, but we'll have signage just to make sure people know which way to go and, to watch out for the construction and be safe. They'll also be able to use the emergency lane for bikes, but we want to keep that emergency lane wide open in case something was to happen and we had to get somebody in there. We'll also have flagging people in there with communication means if anything happens and we have to get any rescue or emergency vehicles into the park area, the guys will stop construction and will assist with making sure that people are taken care of. The park users will be able to use all areas of the park. As I said, we'll have crossings, safe crossings for them to make sure they can get over where we've trenched. Trenches will be filled in. There won't be any big holes that anybody's going to be near, but just to make sure it's safe walking, we'll make sure they have the access. No trees are getting removed in the park. We're pruning only, just doing some light pruning so we don't damage branches with our drilling rig or an excavator. Taking care of the trees, they'll be protected as the standard you see all over the city during construction. Any tree, I think it's within 50 feet, will have protection around it. And when we're done, the entire length of Shore Boulevard will be repaved. The entire within the park. Let me make sure I'm clear on that. Within the park, Shore Boulevard will be repaved. And we have a weekly meeting with parks and some other agencies throughout the city. And we have them actually working on a plan of how the parks people want to make sure that when we restripe the road after paving, We want it to be what they want. So I don't know what they want yet. Parks is going to come back to us about the January timeframe and hopefully be able to answer any questions with the parks that, if there's anything we need to change, but hopefully we can meet all their wishes and make sure it's just, a beautiful park when we're all done. So, we're very close conversations with them. I also have an update meeting with them every Friday just to go over the progress within the park. So to make sure if they have a movie being shot or they have an event, they have a run going through the park, then we're up to date on what's going on. So the people, they love their park, so we want to make sure they can use it.
Have you done a traffic impact study on, like, well, how do you plan to redivert the traffic and parking that's currently happening across Shore Boulevard? And what period of time did you say that Shore Boulevard was going to be closed?
So right now, Shore Boulevard in the park is closed off to normal traffic. So there is no traffic through the park. They have gates on either end. So there is no traffic going through there. The time frame we're starting in there this week. So I said it was still yellow, but we're going to turn that to green when we update the map. We just started pruning the trees and we're mobbing in some equipment this week. So, and we hope to be finished within the park boundaries in April. We may still have to do a little bit of light restoration. And then probably as soon as the asphalt plants are open and ready, we can re-asphalt and get it painted.
That's amazing. Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone else with questions on this slide? No? Dom, you have a question?
Hi. So, hi, Chuck. I think that, the Shore Road paving is it's in a transitionary state where DOT is very involved in a bike lane construction. So you mentioned parks, but Florence, perhaps you could liaison to get parks with DOT regarding the reinstallation of the bike lane on Shore Boulevard?
They have to follow all the guidelines as per Parks Department and DOT. Parks Department
At
would,
DOT, because I
Donnie?
think, I think it's sorry.
that would be a Parks Department lead. Parks Department would be doing that, not the community board.
Even for Shore Boulevard, Florence?
Yes, for Shore Boulevard, because as you know, Shore Boulevard has the bike lane, it is closed to traffic permanently, and it is only accessible for emergency vehicles to go through.
And just so you know, we are working closely with DOT.
Yeah.
This is all their responsibility. None of this is community board work. This is all under the New York State contract, not city. These people you're speaking to are responsible for all these things that you're suggesting, not us.
Understood. It's only that Chuck mentioned only the Parks Department. He didn't mention DOT, or I wouldn't have asked.
No,
Well,
there's other
And there's been a
people
lot of
on that
buzz, guys.
Tuesday
There's been a
meeting,
lot
yeah.
of buzz about the restriping for the bike lanes on Shore Boulevard, and it's all been DOT managed. That's the only reason I asked.
Yeah,
So-
but Parks Department takes the lead to DOT.
Okay.
We got one
sorry,
more
go ahead,
slide, I
Doug.
think, Laura. Go ahead, Laura.
No, we just want to show some of the work we're doing in communities. So we've been working with Socrates Sculpture Park. We attended the Spring Fling. Part of our commitment is also to direct business to locally owned businesses, minority and women-owned businesses. So we sponsored their right at the park, Mr. Softy Truck during one of the Astoria movie nights over the summer. We've made a large investment to the Variety Boys and Girls Club for their STEM lab. And most recently, we've been doing worker lunches to support the local restaurants that were recommended to us, partially by Queens Together. So we did a big worker appreciation lunch, and you see King Falafel from Astoria was there and provided over 200 lunches between 3 different businesses. So we wanted to show a little bit of what we've been working on.
That's awesome.
And Laura, do you want to briefly mention the Green Economy Fund? Because I think that has great neighborhood impact as well.
Part of my role is to work on the green, it's a $40 million commitment that's between Hydro-Quebec and TDI to CHP is what we are together. And we've already done one RFP, and we're funding several pre-apprenticeship training programs that link disadvantaged workers into union careers. We've also just wrapped up a second RFP and are in the process of making awards. But one of those programs is Pathways to Apprenticeship. We've worked with the local community in Astoria we did an info session with them at Astoria Houses at the NYCHA development. We're putting together some additional info sessions with Urban Upbound because they have so much space in Astoria. So we're doing everything we can to direct opportunities that are becoming available because of this project, not just jobs, but also training to people in Astoria. And yeah, more to come. We'll have many more grantees soon, but right now it's a lot of union construction and building automation systems. So
That's great. I think Chuck mentioned that there were 1,400 jobs. How many of those jobs are locally sourced?
I don't have a number. We will have to have a number on the back end because EJ Electric is our contractor. I would think a significant number. You know, EJ is, I don't know, Chuck, if you can get more specific on that.
I also asked because I don't have a number, but you know, they are hiring from the local unions. I know talking to people in the street, I talked to all the workers out there, ask them how their day is going. I ask them where they live, and there's a lot of people from around here. There's also people from the other end of Long Island and from other areas. So, you know, they're in the union, they get, you know, asked to go to different jobs, and that's where they go. So I don't have an exact number, but I know just talking to people, we have people from, you know, around the area, you know.
If
I
you're
asked them
able
to
to
help.
get a figure, that would be great. And if you can pass it along to Florence, only because we're always asked, and it would be
Sure.
nice to kind of just say, here, we have this project and we have this amount of local folks working on the project and being provided with jobs. So that would be nice as a first stat. The only other, was this your last slide? Did you have anything else? Because I might have a question.
I think this was the last slide.
this is it. We
Okay,
can go
great.
back if you want to look at one of the maps or anything, just let me know.
Oh, that would be great. The distance, you mentioned the distance between the two manholes and that you were going to pull the cables through. When you say the manholes are just isolated to a small area. It's not going to
Yep.
go through, obviously,
No,
I
the
can-
manhole is a big concrete box that we install underground. You know, you see the steel manhole covers that are on the
Right.
street. They
Mhm.
lift that up, drop a ladder, climb down inside, make their splices, and then we cover it up and you drive over it, you never see it.
Okay, so the cables are going to be housed in concrete between each manhole?
It is a concrete duct bank, yes, anywhere from, we go, you know, some areas go down only a couple feet because of other infrastructure that's in the way. Other areas are down 6 feet through the park. The top of our duct bank is an average 5 foot of cover on top of our duct bank.
Mhm. Okay, great. And I know we've asked this before and I always ask this, do you ever test the emissions that come out from the cable?
There was
After
a study done. I don't have it's not my expertise. I don't have a good answer on it. I do know the study was done and we're below what the regulations are supposed to be. So
You know what, Antonella, I think years ago we talked about this and I sent you material, but I have a great file now that includes our EIS, all of the studies associated. Yeah, it was heavily studied for the project, as well as in general.
Can you send that portion of it to Florence, please, when you have a chance?
Yep, I'll send you all that. We also have a fact sheet for the community about EMFs if those questions come up. But the short answer, and Chuck is 100% correct, is that once buried, the cable, the EMFs do not
Penetrate the
buried-
concrete.
Yeah, you cannot detect them at the surface of the earth. This
Oh, that's
surface
amazing.
It's just the regularly occurring EMF.
That's awesome. Okay, Dominic, sorry, you had a question. I see your hand.
So it was just a question about what Laura was saying about all the community involvement. So yes, it's nice for you to tell us how many jobs are created. We don't know if they're temporary or permanent. So the metric that I would really appreciate is how many permanent union positions are created at the end of this project, Laura? Or I think it's you because you were the one that was showing the slide about all the community involvement, which I kind of, and I don't mean to be skeptical, but I assume it's all contractual. You know, you're supposed to spend so much millions of dollars in the community, so we appreciate it. But you know, Antonella, I want to remind it's contractual that they've got to spend this money to keep it, you know, to do a good job, I guess. It's part of the contract. I don't know. I didn't write the contract, but that would, how could we find out at the end of all this how many permanent union positions were created? Because I imagine EG's got electricians, laborers. I guess that's, I don't know what else they have. It's probably about it.
So Dom, I may jump in and start and then hand off to Laura, because what Laura's part of her job is making sure this is a construction project. So once the construction is done, the project, our construction workers will go on to a new job. So the establishment of the Green Economy Fund was for precisely that reason. We don't create permanent jobs. There are a few. There are, you know, our converter will have people, there will be people along the route permanently employed, but it is not a significant number. So the Green Economy Fund, every year, Laura is creating more grant recipients who can get permanent jobs. She can tell you a little bit about her work with the union.
Yeah, I'm really not asking about permanent jobs related to the you know, the conduit line. I'm really asking about, everyone boasts about how many jobs are created, but I really wonder, and I want an awareness made of how many new union members are made. That's really the question. How many new union members come out of this? Is it 5? Is it 50? Is it 500? I don't know. Nobody seems to know or ask. But to me, it's a better question than how many temporary jobs, or, you know, how many guys got to dig a hole for a few weeks in the side. You know what I mean? It's about how do we change lives and not months.
I agree with you. I think it's a great question. And
Great question.
that's why we focused on training and job trainings. At the end of the day, this is a union.
I know, but
job,
these
so
unions, especially the electrical unions, sorry to cut you off, they are really tough to get into. So it may take people at your level to go to EJ and ask. And if you don't go to EJ and ask, there may be 0 new electricians made out of this. There may be 0 new laborers put in Local 79. It's, you know, they don't care. They're just putting the conduit in the ground. I think it takes you guys to ask that. What do you think? Over.
Well, I think that we're hiring people. I think that it's great and everything should be union. I'm very pro-union and like seeing these projects go out with union labor, but there should be a pathway to union membership for workers who aren't currently in a union.
That's what I'm asking about. Exactly.
Well, maybe Laura, you can ask the training program and see if there's a way to follow through to see.
So I didn't assume that the training program was linked to an apprenticeship program. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's correct.
Thank you.
There are 4 pre-apprenticeship programs. They operate under the Apprenticeship Readiness Collective, and they're recognized by the Building and Construction Trades Council, and they link to union memberships across the board. They're part of the union's affirmative action plans, and they're great. So we're funding several of those. And that was the concentration for the first round, and make sure that people who weren't currently in a union had an opportunity to get in and work on our project or work on another project. And that's ideally the way that they'll stay employed, since we are a construction project that, like all other construction projects, will end.
But Laura part of the granting requires metric reporting. So at the end of our project, I mean, this is a long-term fund, but at the end of 2026, I would guess that we would have some metrics. We would know how many people thus far the Green Economy Fund has gotten jobs.
That would be nice. That would be a nice stat
Share
if
with
you,
Yeah.
you remember to follow up and just let us know. That would be, because we're always asked at every, a lot of the meetings we're always asked. So it'd be nice to just relay that back to the community. Does anyone else on the call have questions? I know there are a couple of community committee members as well. Quinella, please go ahead if you have a question.
Hello, you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome.
Okay. Hi. I was going to ask, Dom had a great question, but I was going to ask about the training because I know you mentioned training. Like, how many people do you typically train during the time that you're doing this type of project?
Well, we hire people from the union halls, so they're either in a union apprenticeship program or they're a full-fledged journey person within the unions. So we as a developer or contractor aren't doing the training ourselves, but we're hiring from the union halls who do their training. I don't
Okay,
have
because
data, but it's going to be much, bigger than our project.
I thought you mentioned training, and I thought maybe you would take people from the area and provide training.
We do. Sorry, we fund the training programs that connect to those unions. So we want to be supportive of what's working. We don't do the training ourselves, but we have significant investment into the training programs that are recruiting in Astoria.
Okay, and you will have a number at the end of how many people went through this training program, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They have goals, and we don't fund the whole program. We fund part of it. So we're just supporting where we can. Government funds a lot of it.
Laura, do you have a link that you can send to that training program so we can get it out to people who may have not received it?
Yes, I can send you their flyer. I just received it, so I'll send that over to share. And it would be great to spread the word about those training programs because they do recruit citywide, and now they're focusing on Astoria.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate. Great. Thank you for bringing that forth, Quinella. All right. I guess unless anyone has any other questions, we can let Chippy, is that what you call you guys? Chippy?
A lot of people call us that.
The Chippy folks to continue on with their night.
Can I just say one thing,
Yeah,
Antonella?
go ahead, Dom. Sure.
Just for full disclosure, I don't know if everyone's seen the chat, but Chuck, I wrote a kind of ballsy chat conclusion which says Chuck Fontenot will ensure that all excavations will be backfilled as per contract docs, eliminating possible future settlement or sinkholes. So if you want to strike that from the record, I want to give you a chance to.
Yeah, I don't know if I really like that in writing or not, but hey, you know what? That's our goal. We're striving to be the best project out there. I mean, we are knocking on doors. I've been in the utility business a long time. You don't see everybody not knocking on doors, communicating. They just go in and dig up a street. We're in there, and everybody is committed on this project to do a bang up job. And when we leave, we want people to say that they were good to work with.
And EJ also. So can I just to follow up, Antonella? Sorry to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mike. So we had a recent meeting in the Transportation Committee, and we kind of were realizing that the contractor wasn't so aware of the specific bike lane relocation standards of the DOT. So I know Vernon is a bike lane street. I don't know where your trench is with respect to the bike lane, but DOT has strict standards that your contractor is obligated to follow, and it's all about tapering and shifting and protecting. And so is your team aware of that and making sure your contractor conforms to the letter of those requirements, Chuck?
Yeah, so we have
specifically
an MPT plan in our IFCs, issued for construction drawings, and we lay out areas, intersections, how and the the bike lanes are taken into effect when we lay out our MPT plans.
And has DOT street managers seen and approved those plans?
Yes, that went. Yes. Everybody had a time when they could comment on those.
And are you are you the guy that liaisons with DOT street managers when it comes to getting those approved?
No. No.
Okay, so there's a team out there below you that's working with these good and not so good DOT street managers to go over the specifics of bike lane shifting and tapers and so forth. So don't assume.
No, I'm not assuming, but what I
Thanks.
will say is they're not working below me. We have areas within our company where lean and mean, and they're taking care of the engineering and the planning and making sure that all interested parties have a chance to comment. Whether it's fire department, police department, DOT, DEP, anything with an alphabet.
You know what
And
the
then-
reality is? The reality is that these bike lane managements, these tapers, these barriers, these cones, they cost a significant amount of money per day.
Yeah,
They're extra flaggers, they're extra cones, and we know contractors, they treat temporary installations a lot different than permanent installations. If they're going to cheat anywhere, it's going to be on the temporary safety and so forth. So please I appreciate
we will.
the awareness of that.
No, Dom is an engineer, so that's why he's asking all these
No
real
problem.
important
I've worked with
questions
a
that
lot of
I
engineers.
could never ask, but
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good, and he's right. He's right.
thank
And,
you.
safety for the community, making sure people get to enjoy the parks, people can go shopping, people can get their trash out, people can get to their cars. That's all important to us. So,
Because in closing, it's just so much cheating when it comes to these closures, these road closures. Because it's only a day, it's only 2 days. A, you don't want to, significant accident, and B, it's not right. It's in the contract and it's got to be done.
yep.
Thank you. Over now.
All right. Thank you, Chippy folks. I really appreciate you coming
Thank
on.
you.
Thank you.
So
Nice
are you
meeting
coming?
you.
You guys are coming to tomorrow's board meeting? Is that you're also presenting tomorrow?
If you'd like us to.
Well, I don't. Florence, is Florence still on here?
We are, yeah.
Oh,
With a
okay.
shorter, like 10-minute presentation as an
Okay.
update. This was our
Yes,
long.
they are coming tomorrow. They will
Yeah.
be, I was taking notes. Yes, they are coming tomorrow. Yes, they will be speaking about this to get the word out more
All right.
based for the entire community.
Love it. Well,
can't.
thank you.
I have to travel somewhere else for another part of our project, but they'll be there. Laura and Chuck.
We'll
will
be there. No problem.
Okay, awesome. Look forward to seeing
Thank
you
you
tomorrow
all
night.
so much.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
having us. Thank
Take
you
care.
for the question.
Thank you.
Thanks. Committee, please stay on. All right. I only have one new business item. Does anyone have any new business, old business or any comments before I tell you what my last item is?
I just want to sum up about that union work, but after you go.
No, go ahead, because
Canella's
I'd rather
question.
finish up that topic
Oh,
first and then
Sure,
we'll on
sure,
to
sure.
old
So, Canella, I'm addressing you here. Hi. And I know it's I think what the community wants to do is kind of get an assurance that local kids have been given the union path. You know what I mean? And so I feel that the woman Laura, she's doing her job, but she was staying. If we can all remember back, she said that the unions are the ones that they have this apprenticeship program, so they get their apprentices not from our community. So it's almost like there's two different discussions here.
Right.
One about our community benefiting with union track projects.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, so we were speaking in two dimensions a bit. I just want your Antonella and Canella's thoughts on that and what we could have done. Maybe we could have done something a little better to, or maybe there's a problem here. Maybe somehow structurally the contracts should be more clear about taking people from a certain zip code or something like that. That's my.
She made it seem that way by mentioning the training. That's why I wanted to dig a little deeper in the training program, because it just seemed a little vague.
Right.
just
It
seemed like
wasn't Astoria specific at all, and
Right.
I think I was a little naive, and Florence, do you have any history
Oh,
or
they work
recollection
with
about the success of hiring local local kids? Because that's what they are, they're kids.
No.
Or union track
That's
jobs?
why
Lauren?
they work with Urban Upbound and Variety Boys and Girls Club and those organizations. Those organizations solicit the funding and they use those people. For example, they have flag trainers and people who go out and get jobs as flag trainers through Urban Upbound. All of that is done through Urban Upbound. None of that has to do with the community board. It all has to do with the not-for-profits in our area that work with the developers.
All right, well, she
Non-city.
said that she was going to send us the flyer, and if
Right.
once she sends us the flyer, if we can send it to, I know Vanessa is on the Tenants Association.
So is
are you-
Corinne as well.
Oh, and Corinne, yeah, so we'll get
Right.
it out to we'll see who on the board needs it to send to their to their base.
Right.
So Florence, when you get that, if you can send it out, that would be great. Send it to the community board members and, they can filter it out in their areas. Are you okay with that? And Shana's thumbs up. I appreciate that.
But Florence, if I may, Florence, could you get, you understand what we're trying to ask here? It's about, I don't think flaggers, I don't know, Florence, can you find out if flaggers become full-fledged union members or not? Or do you know?
I don't think they do.
Every community ends their construction, the job ends. So I would not say that flaggers would be permanent. It would be up to the individual. They're independent contractors, so to speak. So if you were a carpenter and you were non-union, even if you are union, you have to pay your union dues. So then you have to go and look for your next job when the job ends.
No, if you're
They don't always
accepted into,
send you. They don't. I only know about non-union construction work, honestly. I really don't know the answer to your question wholeheartedly.
sure. So
That you would have to ask them when they're here. Ask them at the meeting tomorrow. Write down that question and ask it at the meeting tomorrow. Going to be there tomorrow. Laura's going to be there.
my question was more about every project where we get.
I don't know the answer. The honest thing is you would have to ask each. I'm sure each
Sure.
contractor works differently.
Florence?
I think
I
each contractor would be asked.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
know the answer.
When we get that flyer, maybe we can do a little more investigation and then we'll try
Yeah.
to. Yeah, I think as long as
But
we
we
can get it
also-
out.
This is
Go
a
ahead.
huge project. This is a
Yeah,
huge
because we
project.
also have union members that are affiliated with apprenticeship programs. I mean, not community board members. We do have board members.
Right,
that
I know. He
about
always
this
sits
stuff.
next to you at every meeting.
Yes,
We can
yes,
ask.
That's the guy I
absolutely.
was thinking of. He should have been at this meeting.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, we can ask him tomorrow. So that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's something that we should definitely look into. If we could provide more opportunities in our area, we should definitely. That rocks. All right. Are we ready to go to a quick topic? All right.
Ready.
Next topic. I had a letter prepared, but I didn't send it to you. I wanted to, this continuation from my comment in the last board meeting. I'm doing a letter, and I think Kristen Gonzalez, is it Kristen Gonzalez, Florence? She spoke at the last meeting. She said she would support us in writing a letter to EPA about the fluoride in our water as a result of the lawsuit where the EPA lost against the Fluoride Action Network Fluoride Action Network. Yeah, that's what they're called. Where the judge said that he said it wasn't safe and no levels are safe. And so you should definitely look into what the strategy is. So I'm going, Florence, can I send a letter to you for review?
So normally you would send it to me and Evie and I would go
Evie?
over the letter. Evie and I would work together to see if there's any changes that need to be made. And then we would follow up with you. So send it to the board office.
Okay, so I don't send it to the committee first for review?
No.
We send it to you guys first?
I think you send it to Evie first.
Okay,
I would if I were in your position. I can't tell you what to do. It's at your discretion. But I mean, if you've already drafted it, I would have Evie look over it first, clean it up and then send it to the committee and then let the committee make any changes and then bring it back to Evie and me.
okay. That's great. All right, that sounds good. Does anyone have any comments on that on the board? I mean, on the committee?
Sometimes when I write Florence wrong, it autocorrects as fluoride. Joking.
Sorry, Florence. All right, I don't think Florence found that funny, but okay, sorry.
She did, I'm sure she did.
I'm fine. I'm laughing. I have a smile.
All right, good. We like it.
It doesn't bother me.
All right. Well, I wrote down everyone that was on the meeting today. If it's okay, I'm going to call for adjournment. If you guys are nice, no need to keep you guys on any longer. Yes? All right. Well, in that case, have a great night, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow night. Take care, guys.
Good night. You tonight. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Meeting
Bye, guys.
was- Bye.
Bree Studios, thank you very much for another wonderful meeting. You can close the meeting.
All right, no problem. Have a good night.